Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to explain why I've bought another car. Now I'm sure you guys know this, but a couple of weeks ago I released a video titled My New Car, and in that video I showed you around my new Peugeot 107 and all the things that were wrong with it. Well, I also said that the engine light was on and the clutch felt extremely heavy. So after a couple of weeks of driving it and realizing this car will not last me one whole year, I accepted defeat and decided to sell it for half of what I bought it for to one of them car buying companies. And then after a couple of days and scrolling through Auto Trader and Facebook Marketplace, I decided to go ahead and buy this 2008 1-litre Toyota Aygo with only 50,000 miles on the clock. Now, Toyota Aygos have been out for 20 years now, and it's basically the same car as the Peugeot 107, which I owned, and the Citroen C1. Although all three cars share the same engine and pretty much share every mechanical component, they have slightly different looking exteriors, and once again all are very ugly. However, if someone put a gun to my head and told me to pick one, I'll choose the Toyota Aygo, as it's the least bad of a bad bunch. Next up, I want to talk about the boot in this little Toyota Aygo, because I haven't really done a boot section in a review in a long time. But as you can see, when I open the boot, the parcel shelf does look like it's about to snap because it's so flimsy and cheap, and there's no room in here. Reason being because there's a spare tyre at the bottom, and also an interesting thing, it actually says it's got imprinted top tether on the rear seats and a little tether at the bottom, so when you've got your child seat in the back you could actually tether it to the rear seat. Moving on to the interior of the 2008 Toyota Aygo, and as you can see, it's a straight copy and paste from the Citroen C1 and Peugeot 107. And in fact, if you want to go watch my review on the Peugeot 107, please click on that top right hand banner and go give it a watch. But yes, like I said, to a regular person it's exactly the same interior as the 107 and Citroen C1, but to someone like you or me, there are some differences. So for example, the steering wheels are slightly different shape and it's got the Toyota badge on it. The gear stick is leather wrapped and it's got the little Toyota badge on it as well. And the seats have got this little cheap suede and leather combination going on, which I'm not quite sure about, and it looks a bit tacky. Next up, I'm going to go very Doug DeMuro here, but there's a little funny thing in the service book. So when you open it up and you go to the contents page, under section 7 there's a do-it-yourself maintenance, and when you go to page 245 it shows you what the do-it-yourself maintenance consists of. So you got your do-it-yourself service precautions, positioning the jack, fuse location. That's pretty funny. Nice to know that Toyota want their owners to work on their own cars. And now let's talk about the rear seats, but first of all let me just get in there and explain what I mean. Give me a second. There is barely any space in here. So this car also does come with a 5-door variant, but there is no point of going for that version because this car only has 68, 67 brake horsepower. And if you try haul 3 or 4 of your mates in here, you're gonna struggle with hills. Okay guys, so let's go for a drive now. Let me just whack on my seatbelt and take off the handbrake. There we go. It's a very sunny day in England today. The weather is dodgy as hell. Last week it was lightning, this week it's blazing with heat. So first off, I'm sure you guys are wondering what happened with the Peugeot 107 that I bought, that I literally had ownership of for around 3 weeks. That car was just horrendous. You needed to drive that car to understand how bad it was. It 100% been in a rear end collision because the bumper, the rear bumper was just falling to bits, and honestly, you just needed to drive that car to understand how much of a heap of crap it was. So I'm going to give you guys a top tip. So especially if you're living in the UK, so when you're buying your first car and it's relatively cheap, make sure you just avoid car garages. I'm not saying all car traders are bad, but car traders often tend to just love to clock back the miles on cheap cars because the profit margins are much lower on them cars. And if you could just clock back the miles for 50 quid and make 200 quid profit, then hell yeah they would. So just please be wary when you're buying a car, and a good way to check would be to go on the MOT history website and check if it's had any advisories, check the mileage, as well. So if a car's done 15,000 miles in 2017 and then it's done about 300 miles in 2018, and that car has most likely been clocked back, which I'm guessing is what happened with my Peugeot 107. But now let's talk about this Toyota Aygo, and one downfall against other cars, or this might actually be a spec option, is this car doesn't have a rev counter. So it's really hard to change gears because I can't hear the revs either, and because it's a really quiet car. So make sure when you do go buy one of these cars, make sure it has a rev counter. I didn't notice until I was driving back home and I was like, where the hell's the rev counter? I also read somewhere that the clutches don't last very long in these cars, and yeah, I think they don't. In the Peugeot 107 it was really stiff and my left foot just got tired all the time. But this one's kind of bouncy, and I think it's quite easy to stall if you're a learning driver. Just as well, make sure if you are test driving these cars, make sure the clutch is in good condition, because you'd have to buy a new clutch and that's just hassle. But it's tell you what, it's so weird driving this car coming from like a bigger hatchback. So on the Civic's quite wide, it's quite big. This car just feels so unstable on the road because the tyres are so thin, especially in rain. You do get chucked about a lot on the road. But I bought this car for insurance purposes and for YouTube content. So in terms of insurance, it's going to lower my insurance premiums, obviously, because I don't want to pay. I could not buy this car and save money, but I'd rather get my no claims and not have to pay towards insurance companies in the future, because that's not what I want to do. I want to, put it towards a car or mods or something like that. But in terms of YouTube content, I want to mod this car, so please, leave some suggestions as to what you want me to do to this car. So I'm going to debadge it. I've bought some tooth floss so I can take off the badges. I'm going to buy some LED indicators as well. I'm going to fit all this by myself, and some LED interior lights as well. Nevertheless though, thank you guys for watching this little announcement / reveal that I've done with this car. Going forward, I will do some modifications to it, so debadging it, LED interior, etc., whatever you guys want me to do to it. So I don't want to ramble on for too long. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon for another video. Ciao.